Yo, what up? What up, people? How y'all doing, man? This is Coach Carville Bailey. I am actually checking in live right now from Mikey's Grill. Mikey's Grill, man. Come get it. Big shout out, Mike Nance, R.I.P. Elliott Brown. Listen, I wanted to come on, make this video talking about the difference in recruitment and redshirting, and to understand the concept of redshirting and what redshirting is intending and meant to do, as well as from an eligibility standpoint as well. So while I'm waiting on my food, I figured I'd hop on here and, holler at y'all, and definitely give shout out to Mikey's Grill, Mike Nance and them. So with eligibility, well, with a red shirt, Bethany, what up, millionaire? So with red shirting, typically with college sports, a coach will red shirt a player really for two reasons. You really are able to get a red shirt for two reasons. One is a medical red shirt, and that's if you hurt yourself, injure yourself. The second one is called a hardship. You got a medical red shirt and you have a hardship red shirt. Now, if certain players aren't able to play, and coaches say, okay, we're going to use this as your red shirt year, most times they're just classifying that as this is the year that you're not going to play. And here's why. You get 5 years. When we talk about Division I, you get 5 years to play 4. So you get 5 from the day that you graduate. You get 5 calendar years to play 4 years of Division I basketball. So when someone say, okay, this is your red shirt year, technically you can sit out, and they call it a red shirt year, but from the governing bodies, the NJCAA, the NCAA, it's not a red shirt unless it's a medical red shirt or if it's a hardship. Now, say a hardship, you had to drop out of school, something happened at home, something went on. Let's say a young lady got pregnant or something like that. That may be a hardship. But now, even with a medical red shirt, really you only get 5 games. After 5 games, that year technically counts against you. And so now that 5 years to play 4. So if someone played, let's say 6 or 7 games, they can petition the governing body to get that medical red shirt, because had it not been for an injury and they were only a few games over that 5-game limit, then they may grant them to be able to get that year back. Okay? Now, it was a thing when I came up called Proposition 48. People weren't, eligible. If they didn't pass their ACT classes or tests, then they weren't eligible to, let me go get my food. Then they wasn't eligible to play. But with that Prop 48, thank you. All right, you too. With that Prop 48, what happened, checking in live from Mikey's Grill, y'all, from Mikey's Grill. With that Prop 48, what happened was they changed that to where if a student, let's say it's Prop 48, and then they graduate, they still graduate in 4 years, then they get that 5th year back. But now that's totally different from a red shirt year. Red shirt is because of a medical or a hardship. Those are really the two red shirt terms. Now, in terms of eligibility, because I was in a conversation where people were talking about reclassification with AAU based on, is that the difference in red shirt? No, it's not. Red shirt, and really you're only supposed to get those 2 reasons. So if someone say, well, I red shirted, that's because you get 5 years to play 4. So a coach can say, okay, we're not going to play you this year, but it really won't hurt you because you still have your 4 years. Now, with a Division II as well as NAI, you get 10 full-time semesters to be eligible. So with Division I, from the time that you graduate, you get 5 years to play 4, calendar years. With NAI or NJCAA or even Division II, you get those 10 full-time semesters. So let's say that someone went to school full-time. Full-time is 12 hours or more. You went to school for full-time for, let's say, 2 straight years. And then you went to the service for 4 years. and now you come back, say 3 years later, and now, you want to finish school or something happened. But technically, you only was in school for 2 full years, which is 4 full-time semesters. So really, you still have 6 full-time semesters to be eligible on those other governing bodies, the NAIA or even like, Division II, NJCAA. So with, what a lot of people don't know, when Mike Oliver played at Aurora University, Mike was a non-traditional student, and Mike was good, but, Division III is not really about the age at that point. But with Division I, you get 5 years to play 4. With the NAI and Division II, you get those 10 full-time semesters. So if you know of a player that is in school and you get 15 calendar days from the time that the semester starts. So let's say semester starts September the 5th. Well, you get 15 calendar days until September the 20th to decide if you want to remain full-time or part-time. If you remain full-time after that 15th calendar date, which would be September 20th, now you're a full-time student, and that's 1 full-time semester. Does that make sense? So with NAI, you get 10 full-time semesters. So let's say that someone, that same scenario, while they were in the Army, they were still taking courses, but online, so they were still part-time. Their clock hadn't continued, started. Your clock, what they call your plan eligibility, your clock, that starts when you're full-time. So now that player, after that 15th calendar day, that's a full-time semester. So now if the following week they dropped those classes, so now they went to school all of September, and then they went to school up until October, and then, they found out that they aren't going to be on the team or something happens, and then they drop all their classes. And now they go to another school, and now the coach asks them, well, have you played for anybody? Or like, have you ever been in school? And they say no. Well, based on the financial aid application that you have to fill out, like that tracks you. So, well, now you only have 9 full-time semesters to play college ball because you chose to drop out or drop those classes after a month, not knowing that after 15 days, it sticks as a full-time semester. If you play basketball or not, most people think, well, it's just the years that you play, your eligibility. So I played college ball for 2 years, but I've been like full-time and dropping. So really, and I had a guy at one time only play a year and a half of basketball, but had done like 12 full-time semesters because he was dropping his classes at the wrong time. And he really only had about maybe, like 28 credit hours. So it was a real stretch anyway to get him eligible. But he did, he had too many hours. So what I recommend to those players that are unsure about them playing or things like that, you can register up to 11 credit hours. And now that's almost full-time. Full-time is 12 credit hours. You can register up to 11, and that's still part-time rather than being full-time. And now that counts against your clock. So now even though you can't go Division I, which is what most people talk about when we talk about redshirting, so a person can say, yeah, I redshirted for 2 or 3 years. Well, you just didn't play. It's not necessarily redshirt. You redshirt because of a hardship or because of a medical. But when we talk about those 15 days, so technically, player A can go to school 1, and he can be at school 1 until, so listen, let me tell you this. Personally, I knew of a kid that I was recruiting. He didn't want to come. I was at Truman College. He didn't want to come to Truman, and he wound up going to another school, I think down in Kansas or Oklahoma somewhere. He found out like a week after he was down there, coach, this ain't what they said it was going to be. This ain't right. I don't want it. And I said, you know what? Here's what you do. Drop those classes Get yourself on a bus, on a plane, whatever you got to do. Come back to Chicago. We're going to go up to school. I'm going to tell you what you do. You fill out the application online now. Monday, we're going to go up there. You're going to take your placement test. Bring your transcripts. We're going to get you registered. Because technically he still had those, he had about 3 days because it was like 5 days. He had been in school for like a full week. So that's 7 days plus the weekend. So we had a few days to still work with. It used to be 10 days, but now it's 15. So technically that kid was able to drop those classes within the first 15 days and then still transfer someplace else, get enrolled and registered before that 15th day at that school to be eligible. So it's all about kind of knowing the rules. And, like these are things that I sit down and talk to coaches about, help coaches with, because people help me with it, understanding those rules. But when people talk about redshirting, a lot of people just throw the word redshirt around like they throw the word friend. And they're really not understanding. A lot of times you're not redshirting, you're just not participating on the team that year. Yeah, you may be able to still play or like practice. We may still use you in practice for different things on the scout team, whatever it may be, to help us out, but you can't play in academic, competition or, athletic competition. You don't get like per diem and all of those things. You may not even get a practice outfit, but that's why you redshirt. But now again, in terms of those eligibility things, I want people to know that based on a person redshirting, technically they can redshirt that 1 year. So if a person gets hurt, they can, they play freshman year, they get hurt the summer of freshman year, they can still redshirt, which is year 2 out of high school. They can redshirt their second year. They come back their third year out of high school. Now they're technically a sophomore. And then they come back their fourth year out of high school, they're a junior, in which they should graduate college within those 4 years still. But then they come back their fifth year, which technically they can take, graduate classes, master's program, or if they still need to finish their bachelor's. But now that's their fifth year out of high school, but that's their fourth year plan. Now, after that, no more Division I eligibility, right? But now, from an NAI standpoint or NCAA Division II standpoint, and even a junior college standpoint, now, regardless if you've been out longer than 5 years, you're not eligible for this level on this governing body, Division I. But now let's go down a tier. And a lot of people clown NAI. NAI is one of the toughest leagues around because you get those people that are non-traditional students. So they've been out of high school, and most times these are grown people, grown men, grown women, and NAI is their last shot at their dream. So it's a lot more physical. It's definitely fast, and it's really more personal on that level. So a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to go to that school, that NAI school, whatever." Well, technically, it's just based on sizes. Schools are based on sizes, and based on the enrollment is how you go up. Like here in Illinois, we have 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. It's all based on enrollment. So you have to know which governing body you're talking about playing. But most people, especially on the AAU scene, talk about the reclassification. Kids are doing that personally because they're not good enough. When I grew up, you had 2 courts most times on most parks. You had the court that all the best players played on, and you had the side court that everybody else played on. Now, some of the guys on the other side court were good, but they weren't good enough to play on that main court. And, we may play on the main court until the sun go down, everybody come out. Now you got to go to the side court. Well, back when I grew up, until you got better to get onto the main court, it didn't happen. Right? And so the guys on the main court didn't say, "Oh, I'm just barely making it on the main court, so I'm going to reclassify and go to the B court and dominate down there." That's not competitive. Basketball is competitive. People do that, but that's not the same as redshirting. Understand redshirting, understand the eligibility process. So coaches, parents, let your kids know after that 15th day they can't drop that class. So they need to know what classes they are trying to take before they take them, because most people be in school for a month and then they drop, and then they even drop down part-time and say, oh, well, I was in school, part-time. Well, you finish only with 6 hours, but you enrolled for 15. And then after you went for 3 weeks, you dropped it. So now you're part-time, so you figure, well, I'm part-time, but that counted as a full-time semester. So now your clock is still running even though you're not playing. All right, so I hope this helps somebody out. I hope this made sense to you. If not, feel free to reach out to me, and we can have a consultation. I can explain some things to you. If you need, things explained to kids, we have programs for everybody. But I just wanted to explain this because I was talking about it in another group, and I wrote it out, but I want to make the video to go with the narrative that I wrote, to understand the difference in redshirting and with those eligibility procedures, because a lot of people ruin their eligibility because they're only thinking Division I, and then they just, lollygagging in school, and then by the time they do learn that they could have been eligible on another level, it's too late because they mess around with those classes. All right. Hey, again, checking in live from Mikey's Grill. And actually, I'm at the one on Stony. My man Mike Nance, his family own these. He is the uncle of one of my former players. Rest in peace, Elliot Brown. So, hey, support black business, man. If you're ever in Chicago, come check out Mikey's. Listen, Coach Carvel Bailey, share this. All right, share this with somebody else. I got my suit and tie on today because it was business day. So we off to go talk to the kids this afternoon. So I'll probably see y'all a little bit later on. All right, talk to you later. Peace. Enjoy.